Meteorologist Jeff Berardelli of our CBS affiliate WPEC in West Palm Beach has more on this heat. Jeff.
Yeah, Vlad, it is like a furnace in the deep southwest right now. Take a look at the temperatures right now. And by the way, this is Eastern time, so this is max heating out in the west. Phoenix is 119 degrees right now, expecting 120 to be the max high temperature today. And by the way, the all-time record high in Phoenix is 122, so very close. Nettles, 125 degrees. Palm Springs, 121. And that heat wave will continue for the next several days. And to be honest with you, it's going to continue straight into next week in the southwest. Tomorrow afternoon, once again, temperatures around 115 plus degrees in some parts of the deep southwest. And that heat extends all the way out into eastern Colorado and the Plain States as well on Thursday. Everybody is hot as well, still near 115 in the deep southwest, and not much cooler as we head into the Plain States in western Texas. But here's the good news. Briefly in the Plain States, not going to last very long, eastern Colorado into the plains, northern Texas. It's going to cool down here Sunday into Monday, but watch what happens Tuesday and Wednesday. The heat moves back in.
Jeff, you're also tracking Tropical Storm Cindy. The storm is threatening to hit parts of the Gulf Coast. What is the latest on the storm's expected path?
All right, so the storm is basically moving very slowly. Now, a lot of the rain is moving north. The storm center is actually moving northwest in that direction. The storm could actually come apart in terms of its rainfall at least, but it could actually strengthen a little bit tonight and tomorrow with winds maybe up to about 50 miles an hour sustained. Now, as these big bands move in, and they're moving in right now, New Orleans over to Biloxi, Mobile, Pensacola, Panama City, they may see wind gusts up to around 55 miles an hour, maybe even an isolated tornado. The big threat is obviously the very heavy rain. This is the official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. Moving it northwest and making landfall. Notice how it moves that way and not straight north. So the rain moves this way, but the storm itself moves closer to Houston, Galveston, and it makes landfall sometime later tomorrow night, early Thursday morning. Again, as a minimal tropical storm right near the border of Louisiana and Texas. And then after that, moves slowly to the north through Little Rock, Arkansas, and then dies out as we head into Friday.
All right, Jeff Berardelli in West Palm Beach. Thank you so much, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
The Bryan Head fire burning in Iron County has grown to about 2,700 acres, and crews have been fighting it for 5 days now. New at 6, news specialist Alex Cabrero shows us the damage done to the town of Bryan Head. Alex?
You know, Dave, if you were standing in the town of Bryan Head, take away the smoke, and you wouldn't even know that there was a fire burning out there. However, the smoke out here, it's been like this for the past 4 days now. And of course, it gets a lot of people excited because there is so much smoke. However, if you own a home there or if you enjoy visiting Bryan Head and the resort, all this talk of wildfire probably has you concerned, especially when you see what we're about to show you. In a spot known more for how much fun you can have.
Every weekend, you know, this whole parking lot will fill up.
Tonight, all Mark Wilder can think about is how many weekends until things get back to normal.
You know, obviously we're concerned about that.
Wilder has worked at the Bryan Head Resort for close to 40 years, but he knows what's going on just outside of town now might be talked about for 40 more.
Our views coming up the mountain are going to be changed forever.
The Bryan Head fire has burned close to 2,700 acres, started Saturday by a man using a sort of blowtorch to burn weeds. Ever since, the wind has only pushed the fire bigger, while crews keep trying to make it smaller.
But it's dry, it's hot, and it's ready to burn, as you can see. Even in this upper elevation, it's ripping.
In the meantime, Bryan Head remains evacuated to the 100 or so year-round residents and the thousands of people who visit and stay every weekend.
Have a lot of our activities all set up, our tubing.
Wilder just wants people to know the actual town of Bryan Head is okay, even with the fire raging just a few miles away.
As nasty and ugly and sad as it is, it's pretty localized.
There is no damage to the resort, condos, or town buildings. In fact, as soon as the highway can open, Bryan Head Resort is planning on a big party. So fun
can be the main talk of town again.
Thanks to the really hard work of a lot of amazing men and women, we're safe, we're secure, we're still looking at beautiful green hillsides, and yeah, we want people to know that.
Now, fire information officers are meeting as we speak to update the information we've been given. But the latest right now, again, about 2,700 acres have burned, and its fire is about 15% contained. But again, that meeting is happening now, so we will get some updated information for you here in a little bit, and we will update you coming up tonight on KSL 5 News at 10 o'clock.
All right, Alex Cabrero, down south. Some good news for those folks at Bryan Head. Thanks, Alex.
First at 11, Tropical Storm Cindy in the Gulf Coast. Tonight, many neighborhoods are underwater, and this is what some people in Mississippi will be waking up to.
On Florida's Panhandle, a possible tornado. Powerful winds tearing apart a baseball field in Fort Walton Beach.
It's an anxious night ahead for so many families as the effects of Tropical Storm Cindy continue to come ashore, and it's already turned deadly. A 10-year-old boy killed in Alabama.
From Florida to Texas, 5 states feeling the brunt tonight. CBS 4's Don Champion was on the beach in Biloxi, Mississippi, just before the sun went down.
Good evening, Rick and Ruta Bay. After a brief break earlier in the day, we've definitely been seeing heavier bands of rain and stronger winds in recent hours here in Biloxi. As the storm prepares to make landfall overnight, officials warn Cindy's heavy downpours will remain the biggest threat. Heavy rains and high surf are pounding the Gulf Coast and causing flash flooding from Texas to the Florida Panhandle. In Biloxi, a water spout came ashore. Its winds took down large tree branches.
Terrible. And I thought it was the end of the world, because, that was so loud.
And it's anything but easy in New Orleans, where at least 4 inches of rain flooded the streets.
I want to ask the public and our citizens to stay alert and to be prepared.
Voluntary evacuations are underway in Galveston. Cindy is the biggest storm of the Atlantic hurricane season so far. Some areas could get up to a foot of rain before it moves north. Cindy is also being blamed for the death of a 10-year-old boy who was vacationing with his family on the Alabama coast. He died when a several hundred-pound log carried by storm surge struck him in the head as he was standing outside a condominium in Fort Morgan.
The child sustained very severe head injuries, had to be pulled from underneath the timber.
The governors of Louisiana and Mississippi issued a state of emergency. In Louisiana, Governor John Bel Edwards urged people across his state to take the storm seriously. The threat of isolated tornadoes will linger into tonight and tomorrow. Officials here are also worried about the potential for falling trees, given that the ground is so saturated and the winds have been picking up. In Biloxi, Mississippi, I'm Don Champion, CBS 4 News Tonight.
We're watching closely, of course, Tropical Storm Cindy making landfall just hours ago along the Gulf Coast. Our GMA storm drone is flying over the region right now. You're looking at Waveland, Mississippi this morning.
Area I know oh too well. Our team is spread out across the coast, monitoring the storm from the ground and air. Ginger tracking the system for us. She'll have the latest in a moment. But first, let's go to ABC's Eva Pilgrim. She's on the scene there in Waveland. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, Robin. One of the major concerns with this storm was the flooding in this area. You can see from our live drone there is still water covering the street here. Basically a river running where a road should be. The water surrounding the houses. We talked to some of the homeowners. They were using ATVs and bicycles to get down this street when it was too deep for the cars.
Tropical Storm Cindy slamming into the Gulf Coast overnight, winds reaching 15 miles per hour, making landfall near the Texas-Louisiana border and bringing a massive amount of storm surge. Water spouts forming and then coming ashore off Mississippi's coast as waves crash in the Gulf. The big fear this morning, flooding. The governors of Louisiana and Alabama declaring a state of emergency. The areas now under tornado threats. High surf, drenching rains hammering the coastal areas, cars trying to navigate the flooded streets despite the dangers, some drivers having to abandon their cars.
No one should be under the belief that this is only going to affect coastal Louisiana.
In Alabama, a 10-year-old boy tragically killed after storm surge tossed this 200-pound log ashore, hitting the child in the head. And in Galveston, Texas, Beach Patrol having to rescue several tourists after their vehicle was stuck on the beach.
And we've been watching this area rise and fall for the last day. It is apparently going to rise again. High tide is not until about 10:30, but they will be closely watching the rivers in this area to see what happens. David?
All right, we're thinking about all those families along the Gulf here this morning.
And that was an area that was hit so hard by Katrina 10 years ago.
The eye came right through there.
They did.
Tropical storm Cindy has now been downgraded to a tropical depression and is leaving parts of the Gulf Coast underwater.
Several states are at risk of flash flooding today. Dawn Champion joins us now live from Biloxi, Mississippi. Dawn.
Good afternoon, Russ and Karen. I got to tell you, the rain has been relentless here this morning. We've seen heavy downpour after heavy downpour, and another one is headed this way. It is a sign the flood threat is not over just yet. Cindy made landfall overnight as a tropical storm with sheets of pounding rain and powerful winds in southwest Louisiana. The rising floodwater reached mailboxes in some places, and a canoe was the only way for some people to get around this morning to survey the damage. The tropical storm dumped as much as 10 inches of rain along the Gulf Coast, forcing drivers to abandon cars on washed-out roads.
I was going to drive through it, but it was a little too deep to go in there with the car.
Cindy's whipping winds caused trouble as far east as Mobile, Alabama, where a tree toppled into a home.
I'm thankful nobody got hurt. The stuff that's damaged in the house is just stuff, it can be replaced.
In Florida, a tornado touched down, destroying a ball field and uprooting a tree that flattened a truck.
Not usually one for loss of words, but I am now. I can't get over this.
Along this part of the Gulf Coast in Biloxi, the heavy downpours have been happening off and on for 3 days now. The saturated ground and winds have led to concerns about falling trees. The water is also already knee-deep in some parts of the state. The National Weather Service says flash flooding is possible in parts of Texas, Mississippi, and Arkansas. Some areas could receive 6 more inches of rain before the system moves out later today. Now, the threat of isolated tornadoes continues in this region. Meantime, to the west of here in Louisiana, officials there have high water vehicles and helicopters at the ready just in case any rescues need to take place. Russ and Karen.
All right, Dawn, thank you very much.
Holy crap. Did this wind blow in like insane? Holy crap. Dust. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Hang on, honey.
Okay.
You're not even going to get out. What? You're not going to get out.
Oh yeah, it's a fucking party. I don't know what just happened. Jesus Christ! Oh shit! Big people, good time. Fuck! Oh shit, watch these power lines, guys. Fuck, I didn't even notice that. Taking a picture. Oh, it's on the ground. How fucked is your truck, Hendrik? How fucked your truck?
We begin tonight in central Alberta, where strong winds have knocked down trees and 11,000 people are currently without power. Although at one point that outage number was doubled, up there in the 20,000s. Some homes will be without electricity overnight. With more on the damage around Red Deer, here's CTV's Taylor Oseen.
You better get under here. This windstorm reaching upwards of 110 kilometers an hour in Red Deer. It started around 7 p.m. and it didn't take long to leave a large path of destruction.
I was in the backyard. Wind kind of came out of nowhere. It was really, really quick.
At Village Mall on top of the North Hill, this roof torn off the TD Bank. Glass shattered out of the windows of buildings surrounding it. Trees blown over or snapped on what feels like almost every other block. And in some cases, power lines down and cars destroyed.
It's pulled out on our house, so we're just waiting for the cable to come in because that's live wire that's there right now. So we're a little freaked out.
Look at the shingles.
On Mitchell Avenue alone, 5 houses in a row had trees fall on them.
Yeah, we've been inside, and actually it looks worse on the outside than it is. Inside, it didn't penetrate the roof or come through at all into the building.
And in typical Alberta fashion, 2 neighbors who've lost their shingles helping each other out to prepare for possible rain.
Try and stop the roof from leaking and do the neighbor's house and go inside and have some tea, I guess. There's nothing else to do.
The skies were dark and gloomy for a few hours after the winds died down. But there was a brief moment before dark where some sunshine and a rainbow peeked out over the city. Taylor Oseen, CTV News, Red Deer.
Well, Tropical Storm Brett did have some pretty significant impacts. Had reports of roofs that were blown off of houses in Trinidad and Tobago. You had some instances here in Venezuela. You could see these fishermen trying to bring that damaged boat back on shore. Tropical Storm Brett is not a tropical storm anymore. It has now kind of devolved into a tropical wave, and we were talking about this earlier. We kind of expected it to lose strength pretty soon. And right now, from here on out, yeah, it's still a formidable storm that you're going to know it's there if it affects your area, places like Aruba. It's got a pretty wide wind field, so it's going to be on the breezy side. You'll have some high surf and all that kind of stuff, and still some pretty decent rain that'll be falling from it, but it's really not that well put together of a tropical system anymore. So, as is the case, we have no forecast cone, and basically what we're looking at here is just the whole system drifting toward the west, good amount of rain, some pretty decent wind as well.
Alguns meios aéreos, nomeadamente aerobombardeiros pesados, começassem a trabalhar em alguns setores. Este é um trabalho demorado. A orografia do terreno, em alguns pontos, torna difícil, em alguns casos impossível, os meios terrestres entrarem.
Eu acho que neste momento há uma prioridade. A prioridade é do combate ao incêndio, do apoio aos familiares das vítimas, do apoio às vítimas não mortais, daquilo que sofreram e sofrem na sua vida, nas suas pessoas, nas suas famílias.
They are a new fire, you know, but I think the firemen are control, I think, okay. But the people are afraid, you know. I'm going to Figueiró dos Vinhos to bring some food and water for the firemen and the other people who had to finish the fire.
There's optimism in Portugal that firefighters are winning the battle against deadly wildfires. Civil protection officials say 95% of the blazes have now been brought under control. The fires are the country's deadliest on record, killing at least 65 people and injuring more than 150. With some new flare-ups in places, more than 2,000 firefighters have been joined by others from neighbouring Spain. The Spanish minister says firefighters from Madrid will be joined by colleagues from Galicia and Andalusia. There are also 2 aircraft from Castilla-La Mancha, she says. This is being described as Portugal's worst human tragedy in living memory, with many victims killed in their cars as they tried to flee.
26,000 hectares burned. That's 3 times the size of the Portuguese capital, Lisbon. The initial fire that tore through here may no longer be a threat for now, but those who lived through those terrifying moments are still trying to come to terms with what happened.
We were surrounded by flames. My husband said he never thought this would happen. We thought we were going to die. We had nowhere to go. There were no firefighters here.
It's impossible to imagine what was going through the minds of the people here when the flames came through on Saturday. These homes were destroyed, the mountains, the backdrop here completely blackened, yet I take just a few steps over and the flames miraculously stopped. The homes behind me were spared. The focus now is on fires burning further north. Planes and helicopters are being used to tackle the flames from the sky. Searing temperatures and strong winds are making conditions worse and worrying overstretched emergency services.
We're used to fires, but we weren't prepared for a situation like this. This fire is extraordinary. We've never had such a tragedy in Portugal. But we have to face the problem and fight the fire in the best possible way.
the government has announced that a new team of firefighters will be created to focus strictly on forest fires. That may not appease people here. They're angry at the lack of planning for this type of disaster and why the national plan to combat forest fires hadn't been reviewed in years. Catherine Stansel, Al Jazeera, Almeg, Central Portugal.
Alors pensez à bien vous hydrater.
The European heat wave shows no signs of abating as temperatures continue to soar across the continent. The time may be right for dancing in the street as the heat climbs above 30 degrees, but the summer sun is not for everyone. Some are struggling to cope with the unnaturally high temperatures as they seek refuge from the heat.
Are you struggling?
I'm struggling, but I'm enjoying it because in our country we don't get very much sun, so the more the better.
I'm from South Korea, so this weather is not is unusual in Korea. So I'm very yes. I don't know how to handle this weather.
There have also been a number of reported drownings across the continent as revellers flock to the nearest body of water to cool off. The World Meteorological Organization has said that temperature records are being broken across Europe and that only 2016 saw higher global temperatures.
When we cross a threshold, which is defined by a local condition, then we call for heat wave. For example, Switzerland, the threshold of heat wave is 30 degrees centigrade. So when we cross that threshold, there is an issue of warning or advisory.
For now, the only relief from the sun is the shade and plenty of water. And with the heat forecast to continue through the rest of the week, everyone might as well sit back and enjoy the sunshine while it lasts.
Torrential rains over the past few days have left various parts of Manipur flooded, thereby leaving the locals devastated. Major rivers in the region are flowing above the danger mark, and hundreds of houses and paddy fields in all the 4 districts of Imphal Valley, Imphal East, Imphal West, Thoubal and Bishnupur have been affected because of the overflowing rivers. So far, around 250 homes and 1,000 acres of paddy fields, including fish farms, have been damaged in Paubitek and Upokpi village because of a huge water volume and turbulent current coming from the Imphal river. Reportedly, the state government has joined hands with local MLAs and opened relief camps in the worst affected sites.
الغابة.